Hi, everybody. So welcome to Anti-Hustle Business Training live stream. We're here in Reclaim Your Wild every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. European time zone. So mark your calendars if you want to catch this live. If you want to have some free coaching while we're on the live, then you want to make sure that you are here with us. If you have any questions, you can always pop them into the chat or into the comments section. Let me know if you're here live or if you're watching the replay, and I am happy to answer any questions that you have as we go through this. So I want to talk to you about and share with you 6 things that I did. I'll be also talking about things that I didn't do to make over $500,000 in the last 3 years. And I want to have a caveat attached to this, right? So I have been in business since 2015. And I feel like this is where some people, like when they're saying like, oh, I made this in this many years, sometimes they're not like they were in business a lot longer, but they changed things. They changed their business model. They changed coaches. They changed niches or whatever, right? And then that's when things started to pick up. And so I just want to make this very clear that I've made over $500,000 in the last 3 years once I switched to an anti-hustle business model. Before that, I was all hustle. I ate up everything. Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, Gabby Bernstein, like those were all the coaches and the people who I was following back in 2015. Lots of rose gold. Everybody was going and getting their branding pictures at the Eiffel Tower. That's how long ago this was. I feel like I don't even know what coach had those packages, right? But lots of people were working with this coach, and then everyone went to Paris. And I ate it up and I loved it, and I was all hustle. And so I did have success. So I made money right out of the gate. I got hired immediately. I did not struggle really in my business making money. I struggled raising my rates. I struggled having work-life balance. I struggled, like I didn't know how to launch. So everything that I did was completely like haphazard. So it just goes to show you that, like, sure, you can you can run a business and still see some success and make money when you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to figure shit out. And I think that I know that we talk a lot about that, and you'll see that in the industry too, right? Of, are you done throwing spaghetti at the wall? Because once you have a system, once you have things that you can do over and over and over again, and you know how you're going to show up and you know how to get predictable results, that's when things in your business really start to change. But you can definitely get results if you're just like throwing shit out. Like, and sometimes you need to do that in your business, right? Especially when you first started and you just kind of like, you're trying to figure out your niche, you're trying to figure out your packages, you're trying to figure out all of the things. And so sometimes just like throwing shit out there and seeing, like, as long as you're unattached and you're not like making yourself wrong, which is definitely the like mindset piece and the mind fuck of launching and putting things out and like not really having a direction or knowing what you're doing, that's where things can get really complicated and sticky. But I say this to say that the first 5 years of my business, I was also, I wasn't in QuickBooks. I wasn't in, some of it was in Stripe, but I was also getting paid in PayPal, I believe. So when I say that I've made over $500,000 in the last 3 years, it's not to negate, like, the last 3 years have been way more fun. I don't want to say easier because there's a difference between ease and easy. There's been such a sense of ease, and I have more direction, and there's more strategy. There's like a method to my madness now versus those other years, not to negate them. And they led me to the last 3 years of hitting these numbers, right? So I also I want to offer this to you to have discernment so that when you hear somebody say, even me, and that's why I'm adding this caveat, when you hear people say, oh, I did this in the last 3 years, they also like sometimes leave out that like they fucked around for 4 or 5 years, or they didn't make money, right? And so they started making money 4 years into their business or 5 years. So I started having more ease and more pleasure and more fun and more vacations and more travel after 5 years. So my goal in the work that I do is to, and this is what coaching really is to shorten the learning curve for you. If you don't have to go through those 5 years of a clusterfuck of a business, and I can help you have an anti-hustle based business model now and teach you the things out of the gate. This is why I have Anti-Hustle Business School. This is what I teach in Ignite, right? For people who are just starting, who want help with social media marketing and storytelling and all of that. That is my goal in the work that I do with all of my clients. And then as we get to the higher levels, right, of like the 6-figure and the multiple 6-figure clients that I have, is to help them decondition from the hustle, help them decondition from the shit that they've learned, maybe some harmful marketing tactics or sales strategies, right? And to really undo some of that stuff, streamline their processes, remove them from more of their business so they can hire a team, take more vacations, all of those things. And then we can start to scale and grow with so much more ease and pleasure. So this is why I really love working with my clients from start to, 6, multiple 6. I have a 7-figure client as well, because I get to walk them through this whole process and help them see their business through, see the strategy that we've created through. So I wanted to say that so that you're very clear on what this looked like before 2020, and then it's BC and AC. So before COVID, after COVID. So I relaunched my coaching business in February of 2020, right when Italy was starting to shut down. I live just outside of Pisa. And I decided not to renew my contract. I was working with a coach training company and decided to go back out on my own. And then I was like, okay, I need to run my business differently. What would happen if I put pleasure first? If I scheduled my work around my play, around the gym, around my travel, around all of that, I wonder what would happen. Lo and behold, my business took off. Everything I was selling out my programs. I was having higher attendance in my lower investment, lower level group programs, sold masterminds out, sold my one-on-one out, all of these things. And it was from such a place of ease and knowing how to do things. And so we'll get into this. And so I wanted to talk to you about what I did, what I didn't do. I want to hear from you. Maybe there's things that you're doing that you can start to kind of streamline. Talk to me and share with me in the comments, as things are coming up for you, what you're hearing, what you have questions about. And am happy to answer them for you. So, let's see. So one of the first things that I did, so as I was refining my business, and really people think that they need to have more things, especially when you are just starting out. and I'm going to be talking to kind of two different groups of people. And the reason that I'm doing this is because we're here to talk about the mastermind. We're in the mastermind launch. Early bird ends on Friday. There are two pods in the mastermind. One is for people who are making 0 to 5K a month. And the other pod is for coaches and service providers who are making 5K to 15K a month, right? And so when you're first starting out, until you have deconditioned from the hustle, our brain and the marketing people, right, tell us that more is more. And so we think we need to have all of these programs, and we look at our mentors and we look at people who are further along and apply what they're doing in their businesses to what we are doing in our businesses. And that is a big mistake. So if you are in the 0 to 5K range, you really want to be looking at what's the one thing that you can be selling right now. And that is usually starting with your one-on-one. I have all of my clients, unless there's like an extenuating circumstance, I always have them start with one-on-one. And get really fucking good at selling that. So that is what I did. I knew to come back to the basics. So when I relaunched my business in 2020, I knew that I needed to get back to the basics. So I refined my one-on-one program. I changed some of the things. I made sure that I incorporated an integration week. So I do this. I would say all of my clients do this, or at least all of my one-on-one clients do this at this point, where they take the last week off of every month of calls. And that is just, it's a non-negotiable, and it's just to have a break, take a breather. I have my clients tell me all the time, I'm so happy that we have this week off. There's just so much going on. And I'm happy to have this like open space in my calendar where I can like fill it or not fill it or take time to myself. So I refined my one-on-one program, got behind the value of the program. I actually lowered my rates to my one-on-one. And this is important to know because people think, oh, we got to raise them. But if you aren't fully behind your pricing, I would say, like, what do we need to get you behind your pricing, first of all? And this just doesn't matter what level you're at. This is a conversation that I'm having with my new coaches and my 7-figure client, right? Can you get behind your pricing? What do you need to do to get behind the value, to be able to show up confidently around that pricing? If you can't do that, then you need to lower your rates. And so that's what I did. I got out of the contract job and I lowered my rates because I couldn't get behind the pricing. And so then that's how I got hired, was because it felt more in alignment. I felt like I could show up and like, this is a sure thing, right? So I dissected my program. I learned really about what I was offering, how I help my clients, really looked at what their pain points are. What are they struggling with? What do they want help with? Where does business feel hard? Where do they like not know how to do certain things? And then what is the value that my work and that my program brings? So really start to think like, maybe this is where you need to start and where you need to look at, am I fully behind my one-on-one? Can I convey the value? So that's on your sales calls. That is on social media and in your content. Can you talk about your program and know it inside and out and trust and believe and know that it is so worth the money that you're asking for, that the transformation that your clients can expect or hope to have right on the other side of working with you, that it is worth every penny. Like, you need to feel this and believe this in your bones, because otherwise you're going to have a really hard time writing content, showing up. We do really weird things when we sabotage ourselves. And when we're like not fully on board with something, we won't return emails. This is like, I'm avoidant. So I won't do shit. I won't return emails. I won't return DMs. I like will hide and maybe not show up, or write new content. So really start to pay attention to this and look at maybe where you're not showing up. And is it because you're not fully behind your program yet? I also created a framework. So this isn't mandatory, but what it did is that it gave me more confidence around my one-on-one. So what I did was I looked at what do I talk to every client about? And this is in all of my programs. So I talk to them about pleasure and anti-hustle business basics. We cover mindset and embodiment and emotional regulation. We look at pricing and money mindset, energetics. We look at your messaging and your marketing and your storytelling. We're going to look at your sales and your sales process and how you feel about sales and how you're talking about sales. We are going to talk about your launching and how you do it. Does it feel good? What do we need to change here? Is it like, can you remove yourself out of out of any of these? Like with your, marketing, do you need to hire somebody? Like, where do we need to start to pull you out of your business more? And then we're going to talk about scaling. So we're going to talk about adding in new programs. So depending on where you are, sometimes that might mean that you have a group program on deck that we can start to add in, or maybe it's creating like a 1, 2, or 3 year plan or more, right? Where you slowly start to add in new offers and new programs once you know how to sell your one-on-one. So maybe you need to create like some sort of framework or process of how you do something so that that can be the foundation of your one-on-one program. And then you can just more confidently talk about that. So let me know as you are listening to this, maybe what you're seeing available for yourself and what you can start maybe shifting or changing into your business so that you can start to have better results, better sales, and having a bigger impact on your community. So the second thing that I did was that I lowered my rates. Once I calibrated to that new lower rate, I raised them. So I had to do a lot of money mindset work. So at the same time, I was on a debt-free journey and was looking at my credit cards and I had student loans at the time. And so I had a really poor money mindset and I was panicked. And so that is like not a place. If you are talking mad shit about money and not deserving it, and it's hard to get and you're never going to make that much money and I'm never going to be able to pay these bills off. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. So I had to really do a lot of personal work around money mindset, so that I could just have a different relationship with money on a personal level. And then once that started to shift, it really changed how I thought about my business, and it changed how I even thought about money and about credit card debt. And I've been in and out of credit card debt since I was 18 years old. I was one of those people, 18-year-olds that they preyed upon when I was on college campus. I have paid credit cards off multiple times and then racked them back up and then paid them off again. So I just have a different relationship with debt and credit cards. I have no problem putting money on a credit card because I know I'm going to pay it off. And I've done that. I've paid multiple off. I paid my student loans off during the pandemic, right? Because I just really started to shift the relationship and how I looked at this. And I really started to look at the money as a tool and the credit cards as a tool. And so that really changed how I invested in my business, how I talked about money, how I thought about money, how I thought about pricing and all of that stuff. And so it really took me calibrating to the next level over and over and over again. Like every time there's a new higher month, right? You have to calibrate and get ready ahead of time, doing your mindset work, doing your embodiment work, really like feeling safe with money and feeling safe with debt. And that is just like a whole other program. But that is such important work. So maybe number 2 is where you need to start to look in your business of raising your rates, getting behind your rates, and really trusting that the work that you're doing in the world is needed and that this is valuable. People will pay for it. They will pay a lot of money for it, and they will pay you a lot of money for it. So maybe this is where you need to start to kind of shift some of your mindset and how you're showing up. So the third thing is that I really dialed in my messaging. And this is something that I am always doing. You will always be doing, right? Because, and I talked about this in the workshop last week, that when you raise your rates, you're no longer speaking to the same person. So you have to up level your messaging. So when you up level your business, you up level your lifestyle, like you grow and you change, right? So when I was doing my mindset work around money, I was relating to other people who also were struggling with money, right? Who also thought that they would never get out of debt, who also were thinking these negative things. I had to really shift on how I felt and thought and like how it felt in my body. So I was no longer relating to those people. So I don't want to be talking about the same things publicly to attract more of those people. I want to be talking. So let's just say the mastermind, right? So I want to be talking to people who have, like, they're already in their business. They already know that they're fully in, they're all in on their business. Now, maybe they're not full-time coaches yet. They still have other jobs. There is no shame whatsoever in fucking making money. So if you have a job other than your coaching business or your service business, right? Like, fucking kudos to you that you're getting your bills paid and you're handling that. Like, there's no shame in making money from other ways, right? So, and also, as I am shifting now into, so the mastermind is changing a little bit. So I am adding in some new parts. I'm adding in a coach training and coach mentoring component. I am changing the business training component a bit, where there's different like business training calls. There's my OBM is also going to be doing a monthly call, operations call, where she's going to help you with all of the tech stuff and the behind the scenes stuff and emails and payment links and all of that shit, right? So like we're adding in these new things. So now my job is to speak to the people who need those things. So I'm no longer speaking to the people that I was speaking to last round. We've up leveled the whole program. So I need to up level the messaging for this round of the mastermind. So that's what we're doing, right? So you want to make sure that when you change things around, that you're also looking at your messaging. You've changed your target market for that program. I have changed the target market for the mastermind a little bit. We've pivoted a little bit. So now I want to be talking to people who want to have support around becoming a better coach and having coach mentoring and having me watch them coach and give them feedback. So now I'm talking to people who are in coach training, who value the ICF and the core competencies, right? Who value working with somebody who is highly credentialed. I've gone through 3 different coach training programs. I'm credentialed through the International Coaching Federation, right? I need to start talking to people who care about those things. So the messaging is going to switch and change. So each of your offers and each of your programs has a different target market. So after this, we'll be launching Ignite. This is up in the air. We might be doing another round of business school, to be determined, right? But if we're doing Ignite, that is a different market than the mastermind. It's a lower investment. So we're in early bird now. So if you join the 0 to 5K pod, it's $750 a month. And then if you join the 5 to 15K, it's $1250 a month, right? So that is a different income bracket. It's a different level of commitment. It's a different level of client, different level mindset. The client who invests in the mastermind has a different mindset than usually somebody who's signing up for Anti-Hustle Business School or Ignite, because those programs are $2,000 total, right? So my job, your job, is to know the target market for each of your programs, and each program has its different market. So maybe this is where you realize, this is a gap that is where maybe like the bottleneck, or like where things need to switch and change, right? So I would love, again, like if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the replay, maybe pop this into the comments so that I can answer your questions. Let's see. Oh, there are comments. It wasn't showing me comments. Okay. I was like, no one's here, whatever. I'm just talking to myself. And then I click on here and I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of people here. So forgive me. Post and ghost. Okay, Marie. Yes. And so like, that's not serving you, right? And so it's figuring out like, what's tripping you up? What's happening here? What are the stories that you're telling yourself? And so really starting to look at this. Yeah. And Becky said, I'm needing to rebrand or reboot. So that's like, sometimes we just need to pivot a little bit. We don't need to redo things. We don't need to burn your business to the ground. I know that a lot of people talk about that, of like burning things to the ground. Like sometimes it really is just a little change in one thing, and things will change literally overnight. And we know that that's like not true, but it also is true. Let me tell you a story about one of my mastermind clients. Her name's Val. We just did an interview. I will share this later too. She's a midlife reinvention coach. So she works with women who are oftentimes getting a divorce, or oftentimes leaving a relationship, or they're in this like midlife reinvention, like, who am I now that the kids have left, now that I've left the partner, or stayed with the partner but the kids are left, or like, who the fuck am I, right? So when we were talking and really figuring out her messaging, she was in the 5 to 15K pod. She knew how to launch. She had been selling things. She had different programs. She had her one-on-one, and she had her one-on-one, and then we started layering in the new programs, right? She raised her rates. We changed her program, her one-on-one program. We got her out of hourly and into package pricing. I believe that's what we also did, and really dialed in her messaging. Then, as she started to layer in and add in a group program, what happens when you do that, and this is how you start to scale and you start to see your business change overnight. When you have your one-on-one, and then you add in a group program or something else, usually you can raise your one-on-one rates so that the group program then is where you need it to be in terms of price point, right? But first we had to get her behind the new one-on-one rate. So we did that. She calibrated that. When you're in the bigger pod, it's like mostly mindset, energetics, talking about money, holding bigger amounts of money, wealth, money management, what to do with all the fucking money that you're making. Because if you're not thinking about this stuff, you will figure out how to spend it all. You'll overinvest. You will always, unless you're doing money mindset and you're feeling safe with money, you believe that you deserve it, you trust yourself with it, you will spend it. You will regulate back to your baseline. So our job, especially in the higher level pod, is to help you start to grow your baseline. So like, I am no longer available to make anything less than $10,000 a month. That's my baseline. As things start to grow and dips are normal, I'm in a dip right now. I haven't really been talking about it because I need to process the dip, right? But we changed some things in the mastermind. So there's a little pause in between this round and the next round. So there's no income from the mastermind coming in right now, right? But energetically, let's get you to the baseline. So you have to decide and then hold that decision. So as we were doing this with Val, she raised her one-on-one rates. She added in the group program. We started talking about her messaging, and I started to understand more about what she was talking about, what she needed to start talking about. And so I suggested to her and I'll offer this to you as well. You need to know your clients' pain points because you need to know what they're struggling with and how you can help them and how you can design your program to address their pain points. But you don't want to only be marketing to their pain points, because you will attract people who are typically still sitting in their pain, who are on the readiness to change scale, are not ready to actually do anything about it. They're just still gathering information and commiserating, right? And oftentimes people who are sitting in their pain aren't ready to invest yet. So she was getting on calls with people who were like, oh, this is too expensive, I'm not ready, right? So she shifted instead of blowing her whole business down, saying this isn't working, I need to add something else, or I need to fire everybody and start fresh. I said, what if you just changed your messaging and really started to focus on what is on the other side of what they want? Who do they want to be? How do they want to experience their life reinvention, their midlife reinvention? How can you start to share more of your story of what was on the other side of your divorce, instead of always talking about how things sucked and, warning signs and all of that? Yes, you still want to talk about some of that stuff, but you really want to be focusing on, what does life look like now that you left? How fucking good is life now that you have X, Y, and Z, right? And so she changed the messaging, and I shit you not, her TikTok blew up. It was one TikTok blew the fuck up, thousands and thousands. I don't know the numbers at this point. Multiple thousands of views, and things started to go viral. She sold out her one-on-one at her new price. She sold out her group program. She had a retreat. She sold out her retreat. And then the work that we were doing in the mastermind, she's like, I don't have anything else to sell. And I don't know who I am, or I don't know what to do in my business and every day if I'm not selling anything. And so then the work becomes, how can you let this be easy? How can you just sit in this and this is your new normal? Your things sell out. You don't have to be hustling anymore. You just show up and share your story and talk about the things, what's on the other side of your midlife reinvention. And this is how things get to be easy. and it's uncomfortable. And so that became the work that we were doing, and more energetics and holding this kind of business where, like, once you have a team, and this is what I'm saying too, of like, you eventually get to a point in your business that you can work less, play more. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You can have these things at the lower level, like if you're at the 0 to 5K. And also, this is definitely more available to you when you have a team, when you're handing things off, when you're not stuck in tech doing shit that you don't want to be doing. You have a business manager. Like, I have a business manager. She has her own team. They're handling all of the stuff behind the scenes. So, like, that's why I get to spend 3 to 4 hours at the gym and the spa every day, because I have a team who's doing the stuff that I'm not good at. My job is to write content. My job is to put emails together. My job is to do Facebook Lives and write and like live my life and tell people what's on the other side of having an anti-hustle business model and modeling that for you, and also managing my energy, doing my mindset work, all of this stuff, right? So I just want to say that sometimes it is a small tweak. That was a long story for a very like short thing. Sometimes it is just a small tweak in your messaging that will yield really fucking great results. So number 4, I learned how to launch and how to commit to my launches. This was not something that I did prior to 2020. I did not know how to launch. It was haphazard. Obviously, I saw success because at one point I had like 13 one-on-one clients. I was also not charging very much. I think I was only charging maybe like $400 or $500 a month. And so I needed 13 one-on-one clients in order to make the money that I wanted to be making. And I was burnt the fuck out. So what I would do, and so maybe this is where you need to dial things in. I would bail after early bird when nobody signed up. I would just like close up shop and pretend like we didn't even talk about it. I had a mastermind many years ago that nobody signed up for. And so I just like, and like nobody signed up for it in like the first week. And I was like, oh, I guess nobody wants this. So I'm just like not going to talk about it ever again. And it took me years after that to launch another mastermind. So I learned how to have a structured launch, 6 to 8 weeks. So no more bailing after just a couple of weeks, no more bailing in the middle, which is when things start to like feel like they're falling apart. I really learned the energetics of launching and learned my habits, and where I started to go off the rails, where my mindset was like in the toilet, and really started to refine the process for each launch. So once you learn, and I'll teach you that, I'm teaching this to the students in Anti-Hustle Business School. We'll talk about this in the mastermind. You'll get access to this module, because if you don't know how to launch, I want to make sure that you know how to do that like right out the gate, and we can start working on that in the mastermind. But you want to have a process. My goal is to help all of my clients build businesses that make sense, that have a strategy and processes and systems in place, because eventually, I mean, I'm just going to assume that everybody's like in this for the long run, that they want to keep doing this and making money, right? And so you want to start building your business now in a way that you can eventually just hand shit over to somebody. So that goes for your content bank. That goes for how you onboard clients. That goes for how you run your launches. Like if you're just like a yard sale, just shit everywhere, you're going to hire someone and they're just going to be like, there's like literally no method of anything here. And so it's better to learn this now than like, right, like 5 years in, like me, where I had to unlearn some really stupid shit that I had been doing to try to make money, right? And I was like up and down and panicked and right. So like learning how to run an actual business. And I mean, if you just think about like any successful larger business, like not coaching, but if you think, right, like they have a marketing plan, they have a sales plan, like they have meetings where they think of things and there's like a strategy. They have they're like they have team members who are like executing things and like in a successive, like in order, right? Like they're not just like throwing shit out there and hoping that it works. So if you want to have an actual business that works and where you have team members who can take things off your plate at some point, join the mastermind because I will teach you all of these things. I am a Virgo. I love lists. I love order. I will help you get things the way that they need to be so that you can like strategically start thinking about things in your business. This is where, and like, you might fucking hate order. You might hate structure. This is where the like calm, I can breathe, like I can finally see what we're doing. It's not fly by the seat of your pants. Trying to run a business, flying by the seat of your pants, it is not regulating. There is nothing calm, cool, and collected about, oh fuck, we got to get this out. We got to get emails out, right? Like we got to, oh no, I didn't do this. Or when you know, like I was just talking to my team today, we're working on getting things 2 weeks out. Can you imagine emails 2 weeks out, launch strategies and plans like 2 weeks out? Like there's like no hustling. Like we know when things are going out. That's not necessarily how this last launch, I've onboarded new team members. So we're figuring this out, right? And like I had a real great reminder of what it's like to not have things in order and it doesn't feel good. So when you can, it's like having a map. This is like a roadmap. When you have a map, you know where you're going. You know how you're getting there. You know what the results you're hopefully expect, right? That's what we're doing. That's what I'm teaching you in the mastermind. So maybe that is where you need some support. And that's a gap in your business, that you're not committed to your launches. You don't know how to launch. You don't stay in your launches. You don't understand the energetics of launching or how to hold yourself through the uncomfortable parts. So maybe this is where you need some support. So we will work on this in the mastermind. Number 5, unapologetically sold online. So I was like the whole 80-20, like they say like, oh, you should only be selling 20% of the time and 80% of the, fuck that. Like there's no rules. The internet is so loud. There's so many people. You need to be selling all the time. Sell on your value posts. Sell, like trust that, right? Like this Facebook Live is full of value. There is so much information in here. I hope that you're taking notes. I hope that you're seeing where an opportunity for you is to make some changes in your business that you can start to implement immediately and start getting results. And you're like, well, maybe this bitch doesn't know what she's talking about. Maybe I'll join the mastermind, right? And I'm talking about the mastermind. Learning how to unapologetically sell will like completely change your business. Really working through, I'm annoying, I'm too salesy, I'm too much, I'm too loud, I'm not loud enough, I'm not sexy like her, I don't show up in lingerie, I'm deep conditioning my hair right now. I did take my turban off, but like I'm in a, what am I wearing? Oh, my Cayman Islands tank top. But I'm in like an Amazon hoodie, right? So like I had to do a lot of work around, my people love this presentation. They don't need me to be in perfectly polished. They don't need me to have makeup on. They don't need me to have certain things, right? Like I had to really learn how to show up as me. My job is to help you show up as you, to light that fire, to pour gasoline on you and how you express yourself. My job is not to create a carbon copy of me. Maybe you love showing up fully polished, full face of makeup, all of that. Like, then you go for that. I am here to encourage that. But if you want to know also how to, I'm literally sitting in my bed. If you want to know how to run a multiple six-figure business while you're sitting in bed, taking a week off of work every month, I'm your fucking girl. Learn how to own what you do and just really working on building your confidence around who you are as a person. Like, this is an inside job, right? This has to come from within. We never want to base our confidence or our sense of worth or our success based on our clients, the money that's coming in, what is happening on social media, right? That is a slippery slope. You have to know and trust and build your confidence, right? To know that you are so fucking good at what you do. Maybe your bank account doesn't reflect the clients that you want to be calling in, but you know that you are so good at what you do and that eventually they're on their way, so your job is to talk about, because like no one else is going to do it. You have to be just so solid in the work that you do that you talk about your work and yourself and your training and what you've gone through and your stories. And you have to tell the world, because nobody else is doing this. Like, you're the whole business, right? When other companies go and they're selling on social media or on TV, they're not like, oh, I feel like maybe we should just like not sell today. Maybe we should just do more value commercials. No, they're unapologetically showing up. Buy my shit. This is why you need it. This is why it's the best. This is why it's good. This is why it'll help you. This is how it'll help you. Do X, Y, and Z, right? Like, they don't fucking care. So you have to remove the like personal from your business and treat it like a business, right? And so showing up on a consistent basis. When you are further along, eventually, like, showing up every day, you can take a couple days off and no one's going to really like not give a shit. They won't even notice. When you're just starting, that's a different story. You haven't built your audience. You haven't built the trust. You haven't built, like, how do I want to say this? Like, you haven't built the trust in yourself. You haven't built that resiliency in what it looks like to show up on a consistent basis, right? So my ask for my clients is, can you show up Monday through Friday, just like you did for the shitty job that you've shown up for the last like 10 years? Can you put the energy that you've put into somebody else's business into your own business? Even if it's just like once a day, Monday through Friday, fucking sell. Can you imagine how different your business would be? How like you would be working through a lot of stuff around too much, not enough, all of the things, too salesy, annoying, all of that, right? So really working through visibility blocks, visibility issues, feeling all of these things. And I really started to believe in my work and really trusting that it changes lives. I was like, part of it too was like, well, I'm just a business coach, but I do so much more than business coaching. If you ask any of my clients, I mean, I've been trained as a general life coach and then took extra classes on business coaching and then have 8 years experience running a business, right? But I've also taken certifications, Jen Underwood's emotional leadership certification, right? So I've learned somatic tools and somatic experiencing, and I do this in my own life and in my own business. And I teach this to my clients in our sessions. And they come to me with family stuff, with relationship stuff, when they're leaving their partners, trying to get sober. Like there's just so much, right? So like I really had to lean in that I do so much more than the whole like anti-hustle business coach title gives me. And so I had to do a lot of work around trusting just my training and my skills and the space that I hold. And so maybe this is where maybe this is where you're seeing a gap, right? Where you're not selling enough. Maybe you sell like once a week. Is that yielding the results that you're looking for? If not, like perhaps this is where we get to look at, right? So we'll talk about this in the mastermind. We'll look at how are you showing up? Where are you feeling stuck? What feels icky or gross about sales? What do we need to clean up here? Do we need to do like a cord cutting? Do we need to do some sort of like practice? Do we need to do some parts work? Like maybe there's a part of you from way back in the day who had some trauma around selling or was sold to in a really like slimy, shitty, predatory way. And so you don't ever want to sell like that. So then you've just kind of like stopped selling. Like there's so many different reasons why maybe you're not showing up, right? So like maybe this is the thing. And finally, I know that we're going on long, but oh wow, it's been a whole ass hour. So then the next part, the last one is I focused on filling up my one-on-one. I scaled my business back. I actually removed one of my programs for a year so that I could really focus on selling out my one-on-one. I changed up, back then it was called Business Unleashed, but Anti-Hustle Business School. I changed how I ran that program. And then eventually, then the following year, I added in a mastermind, learned how to sell that, and then eventually brought Ignite back. So sometimes you do have to pull stuff off the shelves, reassess, learn how to sell the thing. Because like I kind of got ahead of myself when I was doing all of this, right? And so I had like too many things out for sale. I didn't know who each one was for. Ignite didn't really like lead people into anything else. So I had to change that program so that it like made sense for my business model. So pulled that off the shelves. I restructured it. I changed all of the modules. And then we eventually put that back out, right? So sometimes it's slowing down to then have things start to pick back up. So if you are in maybe the 0 to 5K range a month and you're seeing like, oh God, Shannon has all of these things, or so-and-so has all of these things, like I should have all of these things. We want to nip that in the bud, get really good at selling your one-on-one. Do people want it? Is there a demand for it? Do you know how to talk about it? Do you know how to sell it? Do you know how to market it? Do you know how to do all of these things, right? Then eventually, once you start to get hired and you have multiple one-on-one clients, then you have a baseline of money coming in. Let's say it's a baseline of $5,000, right? Talk about calm nervous system. If you know that you have $5,000 coming in for the next 6 months, you can breathe. Now you can take what you're learning in your with your one-on-one clients, and you can turn those redundant questions that probably all of your clients are going to have. Take notes, pay attention. What are they asking? What are the things that you're talking about over and over and over again? Then you are basically getting paid to create your group program. On the job training, on the job payment, right? Then we look at, great, we've built this program. We know who it's for. Maybe you've done some market research and you've gotten some information. Now you can layer in your next program, right? So And then if you're at the 5 to 15K, do you love all your programs? Do they sell? Are you lit up by them? Because sometimes what happens is there might be a program that's selling, but if you fucking hate it and you're just like, I dread this call every week. I fucking hate teaching this. I love my clients. They're amazing. And I hate this. I just like don't want to show up. We don't want you doing that in your business. We are not running these businesses so that you hate anything, so that you dread seeing calls or having to show up, right? So sometimes it is about getting rid of stuff, even if it's a moneymaker, and trusting that, great. Like imagine how much money you would make if you were actually selling something that you were in love with, that you were passionate about. So if you can make that much money selling some shit that you just like hate doing, imagine if you were like electrified and so pumped up how well you would sell that, and probably like double, triple, quadruple your money. That's what we're looking at, right? So as we start to look at your different programs, what needs to be changed, refined, gotten rid of, and how do we pull you out of these programs a little bit in terms of like doing tech, having to show up for things that you don't need to be there for, right? So maybe that's where the gap in your business is, where you need to maybe kind of go back to the basics, look at your one-on-one, refine your program, nail the messaging, really understand who it's for, getting behind the pricing, and then starting to add in those next things. So this is what we're doing in the mastermind. If you had any questions, this is what I walk you through. There are so many new pieces to the mastermind that I'm just so fucking pumped about. And there's lots of calls. There's lots of support. You get to pick and choose. So like, obviously you're going to show up for the pod calls with me, but there are, you know, there's pieces of this that like, if you're like, well, I don't really need that this week, or I'll just catch the replay, right? Don't let all of the trainings and all of the, because there's office hours with my support coach, with my business manager. And then I'm also going to be doing 2 different trainings a month. So one is around coach training, coach mentoring, and then the other one is around business training. And so those will be divided per pod because there's different conversations happening based on where you are in your business. So, if you've had the mastermind on your radar, if what I've been talking to you today has been like, oh, geez, send me a message. Let's have a conversation. No pressure. I'm not here to like convince you or talk you into joining this. But if what I've talked about today landed for you and you're like, I can definitely see where the gaps are in my business, like where I need to be making some changes, and you're looking for some support, we will be doing this. The doors are open. We don't get started until June. Early bird ends at the end of this week, where you will save $300. If you're in Anti-Hustle Business School, there's an extra additional discount. So send me a message if you're watching this and you're like, okay, maybe I want to continue after biz school. But also a perk of joining my programs is you get other discounts and stuff. I know this is a lot, so take it in, let it sit and digest. Send me a message if you want to have a conversation. We can always get on the phone as well. But this round of the mastermind is probably my favorite. I get to really, I wanted to create something where I get to step into what I'm really good at. I fucking love training. I love mentor coaching and helping people develop and become better coaches. So we'll be talking about how to help your clients have like with their accountability. What happens if they're not following through with their commitments? How do I get a coaching request and like structure my coaching calls better? How do I like have more of a coaching presence and like listen in a way that is like more inviting? How do I use silence as a coaching tool? So I get to use my coach training skills finally. So if you've been wishing or hoping that I do my own coach training program. This is as close as you're going to get to it for a little bit at least. So send me a message. Let's have a chat, and we can see if this rounds for you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here. And again, like I said, I am here on these calls every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So I will see you next week, and take care. Bye, everyone.